Hi, greetings from my truck. It's Jessie. So happy you found this video because that means you want to learn more about doTERRA essential oils. And I have so much information that I love sharing with people. So you're in the right spot. So in this video, it's a recording of a workshop that I taught online on Zoom. It's a DIY make your own perfume class. And it was so fun. We had a blast. I had some technical difficulties with the recording. So that's why I wanted to do this intro video to let you know this is the DIY perfume workshop. Someday down the road, I might re-record and make a video that's all pretty. But in the meantime, I wanted to get this content out to you because people have been asking who weren't able to join the workshop. So continue on to learn more about how to make your own non-toxic perfume using doTERRA essential oils. It's just great. Have a great day and holler with questions. I'm so happy y'all are here. My name's Jessie. I know all of you on live, you know me, but if you're watching this and you don't know me, hey, I'm Jessie. Let's get started. So as I was preparing for the class, I have some history that I wanted to share with you, but then we're just gonna have fun and talk about blends. And ultimately, my goal is to give you permission to, if you like an aroma, make it into a perfume. And I have tips I'm going to share with you. But this is why I had in your shopping list, I said, have a pen and paper. All right. I think I left off when I was talking about how fragrance was the new F word. And so it's just this term that companies can put on their label that will, it includes a lot of things. And you can think of it as hidden chemicals, but really then they could say it's proprietary information that they can't share what that fragrance is, you know. So but it could be fine, but it could not be fine. So phthalates, and we've talked about that in our hormones class. Phthalates are ingredients that are often found under that term fragrance, and phthalates do a lot of different things. I mean, they help, like they're in plastic they're bad, but they do a lot of different things. So that's why they're used in a lot of ways, but we're learning over time that they're not good. But in thinking of perfume, they can be used in fragrance to make the smell last longer. We're going to learn a way with when we pick our perfumes, certain oils can help the smell last longer. Phthalates, they are associated to damage in the male reproductive system. They can just get gunked up in our bodies. They can be found in breast milk. Artificial smells like fragrance are linked to cancer, asthma, hormone issues. It's this whole can of worms. So this is where, as we make a natural perfume, we can just very easily remove a toxin out of our life. Because think about it, when you're spraying a perfume, we spray it, usually run around all over here, right over, thinking of our thyroid and all of that. So the word perfume comes from the Latin word perfumus. I don't know if I said that in the Latin way, but it literally means through smoke. And when I instantly think of, which if you've watched the TV show Friends, which I'm sure a lot of you have, there's this one where Phoebe's putting perfume on and she sprays it in front of her and then she like walks through the smoke. And that's just what I picture in my head when I think of through the smoke is Phoebe. So it was refined by the Romans, the Persians, the Arabs, this idea of perfume to make you smell good. The first recorded chemist is a woman named Tapati from Mesopotamia, and it was way back 1200 BC, and this chemist, was making perfumes. The Bible, they talk about perfume, a sacred perfume consisting of myrrh, cinnamon, cane, and cassia. Hungarians were the first Europeans to introduce perfume, but then, like we all probably yeah, it's France. France is the one that sort of took over. They took it away from other countries, and they became known as that center for the European Center for Perfume and Cosmetic Manufacture. And the city Grasse, France, is now considered the world capital of perfume. And then I just love this quote. It says, "Nothing awakens a memory like a smell," by Victor Hugo, which Victor Hugo, he's who wrote Les Mis, Notre Dame, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I've been in his house that he lived in France. But Victor Hugo, good quote by him. And just think about it.
There. And you
What?
took me. I said,
Yeah.
and you took me there.
Yeah. So we know this, like when we smell things, it triggers memories. And it could trigger a memory from your childhood. You're just like, the smell, I know, and so this is where I love that idea of aroma triggering those memories. But as we have our oils, we can just do it in a more natural way. We can even try and recreate some memories, which like Donna, she and I are trying to work on creating a perfume that she used in, I think it was the 80s, Donna said. And so working on it, and then there's so many different, okay, when we get to the perfume side with recipes, you're going to see like, there's just a lot of different ideas, but ultimately you gotta find one that works for you. So some steps. And this is is this the one I texted you guys? I can't remember. I think it was. We're going to talk about it here just in case. First of all, you need to decide if you want to do an alcohol-based perfume or if you want to do an oil-based perfume, or think it like fractionated coconut oil. If you want to make a perfume as a rollerball, you can totally do that. And so your carrier would be something like fractionated coconut oil, or you can do a spray with an alcohol base. And so like I've got vodka here, but there's even perfumers alcohol you can find on Amazon. Some people like using rubbing alcohol, but you want a high alcohol content and one that's not flavored or something. You just want or like Mom bought lemon flavored vodka, I think. And hey, you try it and you let us know, Cindy Lou.
Well, and I did. And Jessie, I actually like it. I do. It adds a little, and
a little citrus.
It says it's natural lemon,
Which that can be like almost, that's like can be almost like a fragrance word. You're like, well, what exactly do you mean by the natural? But you never know.
Yeah.
So, but have fun with this, guys. I like having a spray. I'll show you some of my spray bottles up when I stop sharing my screen, but you want a fine mist spray bottle if that's the route you choose. And they call them an atomizing spray bottle if you were to search online. So then the next step is you're going to choose your top, your middle, and your base notes. And you're going to hopefully, you've been playing around. You're like, ooh, I know I really like these combos. You can have more than one top note. You can have more than one middle note. It's not like you can only have one of each, but this is just like a guideline. So the top notes are what you smell first, and those are ones that flash off and evaporate the quickest, but it's that first impression that you get. And then middle notes are that main body of your perfume, and some people call them the heart notes. And you can smell it when it's first applied, but it usually takes a little bit of time to mix with your skin and your skin's oils and stuff that you can really smell that middle note. And that middle note is also what will usually classify your perfume into what fragrance family, if it's a floral perfume you picked or a musky one or a fruity one. And then those base notes are rich, they're heavy, and they have the greatest molecular weight. And these are the ones that help the fragrance last longer and help those evaporation rates of those top and middle notes slow down. So we don't need phthalates. We just need to make sure we've got base notes in our perfume.
And Jessie, can I say something about the delivery format, whether you choose to do it oil or alcohol? And this is from personal experience. So if you haven't made perfume before, I don't know if you remember back when it came brand new. I am a beautiful girl. I love everything about that scent. And I wish they would make a beautiful oil. But they had the body mist, and I loved spraying it all over me. And I was actually teaching in the healthy habits. You and Ryan were gone, and we had Luke with us. And I was teaching healthy habits for doTERRA, a big thing in Spokane. And I had sprayed that on my chest and in my elbow pits, like we like to call them, the elbow pits. I'd sprayed it there and in my chest area and a little bit around my neck. And I had this white top on with like a black little jacket over it. And when you sweat, you smell the fragrance of your perfume beautifully. And as I was up there, teaching, I just kept smelling beautiful, going, oh, this is so awesome. I'm sweating and I'm sweating beautifully. And then after I finished, because, I was nervous. And so I sweat more. And it was hot up there too, because they had big lights coming down. And as I go off stage and I go to the restroom, I am all spotted, and you can see exactly where my bra left off, and it was all oil because our body, it was such a fine mist. our body, knows how to even distribute that all over. And everywhere I'd sprayed it, my elbow pits were like dark, my neckline was here. And so just keep that in mind, that if you use oil as your base, and it doesn't mean that I love Beautiful any less. It's just I wear a heavy sweatshirt now if I do it during the
You're just like
day.
doing it out of the shower and rub it in and like let it
Yeah,
soak in
yeah,
for a bit.
and it's for night. Yeah, but it was like I was using it the other way. So
Got
anyway,
it.
keep
Got it.
that in mind.
Okay. Good note. Okay, so top, middle, base. So then this is not an exhaustive list of top, middle, and base essential oils, but it's a start. You can see then at the bottom, I have some percentages, and it's not an exact science either, but you can see, I feel like the moral of the story is your middle one should have the most drops as you are doing this, okay? I just heard a loud thunk. And then, oh, buddy, no crying though. Okay. Okay. So the middle should have the most drops, even though that base is what's going to help keep everything else from flashing off. You don't need a ton of the base, which looking at the oils in the base, those are all very punchy oils for the most part. And so you don't want a lot of them, but no, you don't need a ton. So, and then those top notes that are more citrusy, the lighter ones, again, you don't need as much. Okay. So that's something. I don't know if you want me to, because I was out and then back in, I can reshare those slide notes if you guys need it. So just remind me if you didn't get that saved.
I didn't.
Okay. So I've got some tips for you. So just remind me, Mom, at the end, and I'll circle back and do that. So some of my instruction for us as we start blending, I want you to start with the base essential oil. And you could, if you have your spray bottle, you could just put it directly in your spray bottle. But another idea could be to get an empty oil bottle, even one that you've used before, that maybe it's the base, maybe it's an empty frankincense bottle, because that's a base and that's the base oil you want to use. And you could do your mixing in that one to get your blend where you like it. And then once you have that, then you can do, we're going to talk about we're going to multiply by 4 or whatever to get to the amount and the ratios. And then you could always transfer it into, and you could even have like a base. Okay, so you could do all of your mixing in a bottle, and then it could be full concentrated, your signature scent. So then when you need to refill your spray, or if you choose to do a roller, you could just be like, oh, well, I'm going to do 50 drops, blah, 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 blah. And depending on what size of spray you have too, I can't say you always do 50 drops. It's, again, what you want and depending on the size, but you can get your concoction right there, then do your drops, and then just top it off with your vodka or whatever you want to do. So that's where we're going to be recording stuff. So we're going to start with your base note, and you're going to try that, record how many drops you do. Remember, less is more. So I'd start with less. You can always add more, and that's why you're just going to be scratching stuff out on your piece of paper. Then move to the middle note, and you're going to pick, again, you could have more than one middle note. It doesn't have to just be one. And sometimes when I'm testing out blends, I mean, I'll just keep it really simple, because you can't take an oil out once you start, But then if you have some oils you really like, I'll just take all of them and I'll hold them up to my nose. And again, it's not the right ratio, but you get a gist. And so then you can go from there. But just smell as you go along, add more drops of the middle note to be stronger. Remember, the middle's the one you're going to try and have the most drops of. And then you would do the top note and then adjust, do all of that, and just keep smelling. And you can always add more of your base, more of your middle, and then you'll have your drops there. But once we have a blend that you like, you're going to multiply the drops in the glass bottle by 4, and that number will tell you how many drops of your carrier oil to do. Does that make sense? So if we did 30 or 10 top, for easy math, if you had 10 top note, 10 middle, 10 base, and then you would take, and you're like, yes, that's the concoction I like. Then you would multiply 30 by 4. Then you would do 120 drops of your carrier oil. So that's your ratio. But then you're like, oh, but that only filled my perfume bottle halfway. Then you would do, 10 more drops of each of the other ones, and then 120 of your carrier oil to fill it the rest of the way. And then here's the thing, and you guys, again, I've learned a lot because I have just kept it very simple over the past many years. I use Whisper, which is a blend by doTERRA, and I mix it with vodka, and I've been pleased with that. But it's been fun doing research, preparing for this class. I'm like, well, maybe I want to just tweak it and play around with it. So I've just kept it really simple. I put my vodka in, put my drops of Whisper, shake it up, and boom, good to go. But I kept coming across that you want to let the blend mature for 2 to 4 days before you use it, just to really let it mix up and do its thing. And in one spot I found, they said do it in a cool, dark place. And then after you've let it marinate for a while, then you can always adjust the oils. Oh, and they call it the perfume maturing stage if you want to get really fancy. Like those are some steps for you. But again, just remember, I've kept it very simple and I've been really happy with it. And whenever I hug people, they're like, you smell great. And I'm like, thank you. You know, so, but I know like we like getting details, but I also, like I said, just have fun with it. Okay. But then I have some tips for us as we get moving along. I think I already said this one though, but starting with a small sample and then just, again, let it marinate for a while, try it out. And then if you like it, you can always, because you might be using some spendy oils in this, because common ones, rose, jasmine, you know, some of those that are awesome, but you might want to just come up with a concoction, let it sit, see what you think, and then you could always make it a larger batch. And that's why, again, you got your piece of paper and you're going to keep track of it. And so there are no exact recipes. When we look at perfumes, just have fun. I've said that a bunch, but I just want to have fun with it. And then it's fun too, because I just think of, like we were talking about the Victor Hugo quote, when it's like the like fragrance and aromas trigger memories. So then you're going to create the signature scent. And then down the road, you're going to, like, people are going to be like, man, I always remember when Julie, that perfume, Julie, what is that perfume you wore? And you're like, oh, let me tell you, you know. And then it could be a fun thing to gift too. It's like people learn your signature scent, and then, you know, it's a bridal shower or birthday or something, and you're like, here's my Julie special signature scent. And you can just do all kinds of fun things with it. I'm pretty sure I already said this. So you can have more than one note in your mixture. So more than one top note, middle note, base note. And then apply your perfume to your skin rather than your clothes, shooting for pulse points, you know, your wrists, behind your ears, over your heart. And then if you wanted to do more of a body mist, you could do 5 to 10 drops of essential oil, 4 ounces of water, shake, thinking of after the shower, just to have that misted all over you. And then you could then do your, and that's where, as I'm like talking out loud, I really like the idea, especially as, you know, because then I kept it simple, just using Whisper. I don't need to do any blending. But if I were to come up with a personal signature scent, to have it concentrated in an old bottle, that then I could use that concentration, put 5 to 10 drops in water to do a body mist. I could then make it into a roller ball, but top it with fractionated coconut oil. I could make it into my perfume and do vodka. Like you could, it's so fun. But if you had your concentrated ratios in your bottle, then it's just going to make it a lot easier to refill. Because sometimes I'll find that I'll run out of my, and again, even though it's so simple, I'll run out of my perfume, and it'll take me sometimes a week or two before I refill it, just because it's one more thing to do, you know. So those are some of my tips for you. So I have a couple slides of just different recipes. So, and my disclaimer here, some of them have number of drops, some of them don't. And so, because I was looking through, I was just doing a lot, like digging around with different doTERRA resources and just pulling different recipes into this document. And so sometimes people would give the number of drops, sometimes they wouldn't, but sometimes they were doing it for a roller ball. Sometimes, you know, and so I'm not saying to just right away go straight to this amount of drops. I want you just to look at the combos of the oils they've used together, which I honestly, I didn't go through and check and see, oh, do they all have a top, middle, and base? I didn't check that. But these are all blends that have been shared by people in doTERRA that they like. But you can also see the ratios too. So looking, for example, at the one that's called sugar, it's most like it has most of vanilla, you know, going on down or whatever. So then if that's when you're like, ooh, I like you, maybe you grab all those oils, you smell them, you like them, you could start with more drops of vanilla and then play around with it that way. My moral of the story was we can look at these combinations because sometimes I feel like like if I just saw a list of top, middle, and base notes, I'd be like, where do I start? And so that's why I wanted to give you some ideas. The ones on this slide on the right, I feel, and it's not like just for men. Like I like the guy aromas too. You can do that, but I feel like the ones on the right just maybe fall more in the guy category. This is the shop clothes that I got this, but this is Luke's cologne bottle. I thought that was fun. And so,
Jesse, I've got a question for you.
yeah.
The ones that have so many drops, so that would be for a large spray bottle rather than a 10 mil rollerball.
Yeah, well, and that's where looking at my rule or guideline, not rule, my guideline that I like to use for rollerball is about 20 to 30 drops total in a roller. So if you're making a perfume for a roller, you can keep that in the back of your head. But let's say you liked the bubblegum one, which that's, what is that, 40, 48 drops? I would start with like maybe cutting that recipe in half. And then, like I said too, I didn't go through and check and make sure, like see which ones were top, middle, base. And some of these blends that I'm sharing too, they're a doTERRA blend that they've then added in their other like single oils. Because Dawn and I were talking about this earlier this week, but I believe, I haven't confirmed it with doTERRA, but the doTERRA blends, those are so masterfully put together. I have to believe that they have top, middle, and base notes in them, but I haven't confirmed that. But that's what my gut tells me. Again, just like think about aromas that you like. So if you like the aroma of like the bubblegum one, again, just maybe start with less drops, smell it, and then if you wanted to make it stronger, you could always add more drops. If that helps. So I'm not trying to be loosey-goosey on you, I promise. And then here's another, just different. And I started going through, because there's this great thread in this group I'm in with all doTERRA people, and it was all about perfumes. And so that's why I couldn't think of names. I'm like, there's Amanda's blend, there's Allison's blend, or Lauren's blend. And then you can, because ultimately, if you find one you like, it's going to be your blend. So you call it your blend. But again, and those don't even have, not all of them have the number of drops. It's just combos that people love together, thinking specifically of perfume. And then what's so fun too with when we use our doTERRA oils as perfume, yeah, it's going to help us smell good, but then you get all the cool side benefits of the benefits of that oil. So maybe one is, it'll help with mood. Maybe one will help with hormones. And so it's really fun because it's not just to make you smell good. It's going to help on the other levels too. So these are ones, and I'm just going to keep going. I have just a few more slides to show you, and then I'm going to go off. Then we can play around with it and start playing around with it. So these are just reminders. Some of the perfumes that just you can use as a perfume from doTERRA. I mean, there's other ones too. I know they love using the yoga oils as perfumes. They've said all three blended together is really nice, or using citrus bliss. So these are just reminders that if you want to keep it simple and just use something like neroli as your perfume, then to do that, and that's great. So, and
well, Jessie, when you were talking about the yoga blends, I told you that I am that beautiful lover, and beautiful, the strongest thing I think that comes through is the osmanthus, and Arise, the yoga blend Arise is heavy with osmanthus, and it's really lovely. I have a perfume now that's just Arise. It's the yoga blend.
Yeah, so good. And then
I'm smelling it now. It's just yummy.
Well, that's where if something like Arise, just like I do with Whisper, you could always make it into a roller ball or make it into a body mist or a perfume. Yeah. So this is where, again, I haven't taught this class before. We all have different oils in front of us. I don't know how and this is where I don't know, maybe I'll stop the recording now, because right now we're going to be just mixing and talking about things. So I might stop the recording, but before I stop the recording, are there any questions that you have that I may or may not be able to answer that would be helpful to have on the recording?